Leo, if you've been feeling like something big is about to happen, you're not imagining it. Monday, November 17th, isn't just another date on the calendar. It's a turning point, and the universe is already setting things in motion. This video isn't here to give you vague comfort or fluffy affirmations. It's here to prepare you for what could be one of the most important energetic shifts you've felt in a long time. What's coming might not be what you expect. But trust me, it's what your soul has been asking for behind the scenes. If you're here, it's because something inside you already knows. You're standing at the edge of a new chapter. Something is knocking. Maybe it's a long-awaited decision. Maybe it's a sudden message, a financial opportunity, or a truth about a relationship that finally reveals itself. Whatever it is, it won't knock twice in the same way. Now, before we go deeper, let's be honest for a second. Life hasn't exactly been smooth lately, has it? You've been holding things together, showing up with strength, making the best of situations that haven't always felt fair. But even the strongest lions get tired. And if you've been wondering when things are going to shift, this is it. The sky agrees. The signs are here. On November 17th, the Sun, your ruling force, is making a rare and powerful alignment with Neptune. That means clarity through intuition, and the truth showing up in ways that can no longer be ignored. At the same time, Jupiter and Saturn are forming a supportive connection behind the scenes, opening the door to real-world change, especially in areas like career, finances, and long-term plans. It's not a coincidence that you're watching this. Not at all. So let me ask you something. What drew you here today? Was it a gut feeling? A repeated number you've been seeing? A sense of curiosity that wouldn't go away? Whatever it was, take a moment right now and leave a comment below. Tell me what led you here, and write down one thing you're ready to receive. You might think it's just a comment, but putting it into words makes it real, and it's part of aligning your energy with what's coming. This space, Eternal Mindfulness, isn't just a channel. It's a home for people like you. People who feel deeply, think spiritually, and know there's something more to this life than what's on the surface. So thank you. Seriously. Thank you for being here, for watching, for showing up to the work that really matters. Every like, every share, every comment helps keep this message alive and helps it reach someone else who needs it too. Your presence here means more than you know. And now, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share next might be the most important message you'll hear this week. Especially if you've been waiting, quietly, for the moment where everything begins to finally make sense. Let's talk about the moment the universe knocks. Let's talk about Monday. Leo, the energy that's building around this coming Monday is not just another phase or emotional wave. It's a moment, a clear, measurable shift, and the stars aren't whispering it, they're declaring it. For those who are truly tuned in, this week doesn't feel ordinary. There's a quiet tension underneath everything, like something big is holding its breath just before it moves. If you've felt a strange mix of stillness and pressure lately, you're not alone. And you're not wrong. That's the energetic signature of alignment, when time, space, and purpose start syncing up around you. Astrologically, this isn't subtle. The Sun, your ruler, your fire, is forming a rare trine with Neptune. And while most people might skim over that and keep scrolling, I want to slow it down for you. Because this alignment is like pulling back the curtain between what is seen and what has been waiting quietly behind it. When Leo energy combines with Neptune's waters, it's not about drowning in dreams, it's about seeing clearly through the fog. It's clarity from an unexpected place. Not mental clarity but soul clarity. The kind that shows up in a conversation you didn't expect, in a message that feels oddly timed but perfectly placed, or in a realization that seems to land out of nowhere, but in truth, it's been trying to reach you for years. At the same time, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is brushing up against Saturn, the force of discipline. And this creates a container. A frame. A structure strong enough to hold a blessing. Too often we talk about miracles as if they're fireworks. But the most powerful blessings are the ones that stay. And this alignment suggests that what's coming isn't here to visit. It's here to stay if you're willing to hold it, protect it, and grow with it. Now, if you're someone who notices patterns, you've probably already seen the number 17 showing up. In numerology, 17 is a spiritual call to rise above limitation. It's a code that says, your story is not finished and your power has only just begun to activate. And if you reduce that number 1 plus 7, you get 8. The number of infinity, of divine cycles, of prosperity that comes full circle. The number that says, this is not the end. This is where things finally come together. I know some of this may sound mystical. And it is. But it's also practical. Because energy, even the most spiritual kind, always shows up in very real ways. A conversation. A document. A doorway. A delay that redirects you to exactly where you were meant to be. This is why paying attention matters. This is why even the quiet things, those nudges, those dreams, those strange gut feelings deserve your time. And if you've been praying, quietly or out loud, for a breakthrough, this is the part where you need to believe that the answer is actually on its way. Not metaphorically. Actually. I always say, God rarely rushes, but he never forgets. And sometimes, what feels like delay is actually divine timing preparing you to receive something without losing yourself in the process. So ask yourself, Leo, what are you willing to release, to create space for what's ready to enter? Can you give up the tight grip on how things should have gone, to receive the beauty of how things can go from here? If you felt like something is coming, even if you can't explain it, write it down. Say it out loud. Leave a comment and declare it. I can feel it coming. Because naming the energy makes it real and honoring your intuition gives it permission to rise fully in your life. Stay with me. We're only beginning to open the door. There are days that ask questions, and there are days that give you answers. This Monday might just be both. Something is shifting not only around you, but inside you. And that shift has everything to do with how you relate to others, how you see yourself through their eyes, and what parts of you you've been hiding just to feel safe or understood. When change shows up in relationships, it doesn't always knock gently. Sometimes it crashes through a conversation you weren't expecting. A message, a phone call, even a silence that speaks louder than words. For some of you, this may come as clarity from someone you've been unsure about, someone whose presence in your life has felt like a question mark for far too long. You may finally realize that this person was only meant to be a chapter, not the whole story. And that realization may sting. But it will also set you free. And freedom, even when it's unfamiliar, is what your soul is craving. For others, something beautiful might rise from the ashes of something you thought had ended. A relationship that felt like it faded may suddenly reappear, not to confuse you, but to help complete something it began. Sometimes, people come back not to resume old roles, but to reflect who you've become since they left. It's in those moments we learn the most about how much we've grown. What matters now isn't whether something lasts forever. What matters is whether it's real. And real isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. There's a kind of emotional honesty arriving this week that can't be ignored. If you've been avoiding difficult conversations, putting off decisions, or telling yourself, "I'll deal with this later," you may not get that luxury anymore. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Because sometimes, truth needs to rise to the surface, not to break you, but to rebuild you on steadier ground. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing to stop pretending. That's why it's more important than ever to tune into your own body, your reactions, your breath. Try this every morning this week. Close your eyes, place a hand over your heart, and breathe in deeply 3 times. Then say quietly, "I am ready to see the truth." Not the truth others want you to see. Not the version that's easier to digest. But the one that brings peace, even if it first brings discomfort. Keep a journal nearby. Write down your dreams, especially 3 days before and after the 17th. Your subconscious is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now, and the symbols it gives you are not random. They're part of your inner compass. This week is a mirror. It may show you something painful, but it will also show you something powerful. You'll see your patterns, your limits, your boundaries, and the places where you've outgrown old versions of yourself. And you'll know who stands with you without needing to ask. Sometimes, clarity isn't about answers. It's about feeling the weight of what you no longer have to carry. So take a breath. Look around your life and ask yourself honestly, what feels heavy? What feels forced? And what feels like home? If something inside you has been telling you the truth is on its way, trust it. And if you've been through this before, if you've forgiven someone who hurt you, only to be hurt again, share what you've learned. Write it down. Comment below. Because your voice could be the lifeline someone else needs right now. And you deserve to be heard. When people talk about abundance, they usually think of big, flashy things: windfalls, jackpots, overnight success. But the truth is, real financial release doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it begins quietly, like water finding its way through a crack in a long dry stream bed. And when it comes, you feel it not just in your bank account, but in your body. Like something that's been clenched for too long finally loosens. Right now, Leo, your chart shows that shift is starting. Slowly, yes, but clearly. Money that was stuck, projects that stalled, even conversations about security that felt awkward or avoided theory, all beginning to move. And that's not just coincidence. The stars are aligning in a way that supports release, especially around the things you've been carrying in silence. Maybe you've worked harder than people know. Maybe you've been pushing through, telling yourself, "It's fine," while juggling way more than you let on. And still, the payoff hasn't come. Until now. The Ace of Pentacles showed up in your spread this weekend. When that card appears, it doesn't just mean money is coming. It means a new foundation is being offered. Something you can build on. It could be a contract that finally gets signed after endless delays. It could be a project revived, or a new opportunity handed to you out of nowhere. In some cases, it might even look like a small offer, but one that opens the door to something much bigger over time. Don't overlook anything that feels steady and real, even if it's not flashy. The ace is the seed. What you plant now, with intention, can grow into real, long-term stability. But here's the part people don't always say out loud: receiving is also a skill. Sometimes the hardest part of manifesting abundance isn't asking for it, it's believing you're allowed to hold it without fear, shame, or guilt. Many of us were raised to think we have to earn rest, deserve peace, prove our worth. So even when the energy of prosperity arrives, we block it without realizing. That's why this week is a chance to not just watch what comes your way, but to ask yourself honestly, will I allow it to stay? Start small. Review your budget. Not out of anxiety, but out of respect. Adjust your spending with love, not lack. Make space for what's growing by not clinging to things that drain you. And if something feels like an emotional spending habit, ask what need it's trying to fill. Consider investing time, not just money, in learning something new. Not because you're behind, but because you're ready. A skill, a side project, a curiosity you've been putting off. These are the kinds of things that ripple forward. Your earning power is not just what's in your paycheck. It's your resourcefulness. And that's something the stars are encouraging you to lean into right now. So if you've been waiting for the call, the email, the release, you're not imagining it. Things are loosening. The pressure is shifting. The path is clearing. And if this message resonates with you, if you feel the weight lifting even a little, let it be known. Speak it into the comments. Write, I am ready to receive what's mine. Because declaring it out loud turns invisible energy into movement. And sometimes, that's all the invitation the universe needs to show up. There's a kind of knowing that doesn't come from books, logic, or facts. It lives somewhere deeper, just below the surface of thought, in that quiet space where feeling meets awareness. And right now, Leo, that space in you is starting to stir. Maybe you've noticed it already. A flutter in your chest when nothing's going on. A strange moment of stillness that feels more alive than loud. Dreams that feel too real to forget. Numbers or signs that seem to follow you without explanation. It's not in your head. It's not random. What you're sensing is real. And more importantly, it's rising. Astrologically, you're in a moment of energetic opening. It's like an internal portal is becoming active, and with that comes a surge in intuitive signals. This kind of expansion isn't loud or dramatic. It feels subtle, quiet, but persistent. You might find yourself waking up at the same hour every night. Feeling emotional for no clear reason. Noticing that small things carry more weight than they used to, like the tone in someone's voice, or the way a certain song hits you differently now. That's your system adjusting. Your energy is expanding its range, and in that expansion, you're learning how to listen differently. One of the most overlooked parts of healing is remembering that intuition is not about being psychic. It's about getting honest. It's when your soul starts raising its voice above the noise of your mind. And healing doesn't always begin with a breakthrough, it often begins with permission. Permission to feel. To not dismiss the quiet nudges. To believe your inner signals, even when they don't make sense to anyone else. Right now, Your body is likely speaking before your thoughts can catch up. That buzzing feeling when you walk into certain spaces. The chill down your arms when you think about a certain decision. The tears that come without a clear story attached to them. These are not problems to fix. They're messages to pay attention to. This week is a perfect time to begin or return to simple practices that help you hold space for this clarity. One of the simplest and most powerful things you can do is write down 3 things you know you're good at. Not things you think you should be proud of, but things you feel, deep down, are part of who you truly are. Then, speak them out loud. Record yourself saying, I am the light. I am safe. I am worthy. Listen to it when you wake up, or before bed. Not because it's magic, but because repetition roots belief. And belief changes everything. You don't need to chase answers this week. You just need to stay present to the signs that are already appearing. The dragonfly that lands near you and won't leave. The repeated 11:11s or 17s that show up on clocks, receipts, or license plates. The sudden memory of something you'd forgotten but that somehow feels important now. These are your reminders. Your soul is remembering something important. And every time you honor that memory, even in silence, you strengthen your connection to who you've always been. If any of this speaks to you, if you've seen something strange recently that you can't explain, share it below. Not because you need validation, but because you're not the only one. Someone else may be feeling the same thing and not know how to name it yet. And sometimes, your words are exactly what someone else needs to realize they're not alone. Sometimes we don't realize we've been preparing for a moment until we're standing in it. And this Monday, Leo, feels like one of those moments. Not loud or theatrical, but quietly defining, like the stillness before dawn that tells you something sacred is about to begin. You don't need to do anything grand. You don't have to prove anything. The work has already been happening, quietly, beneath the surface. And now, something is aligning that invites you to stop trying so hard and start trusting a little more. November 17th isn't just a date on the calendar. It holds the kind of energetic stamp that you might look back on months from now and say, that was the day everything started to feel different. Not because something external changed all at once, but because you did. Because you chose to lean in instead of leaning back. Because you stopped doubting the light inside you, and started treating it like it was real. It is. Astrologically, the alignments around this date are rare and potent. But you don't need to know every detail in order to feel what they're opening. It's enough to sense that something inside you is reaching for more, and for once, it doesn't feel like striving. It feels like allowing. That's what makes this different. You're not chasing. You're choosing. Leo, your sign has always been associated with royalty, strength, and solar brilliance. But the truest form of your power doesn't come from trying to be bigger than life. It comes from remembering that your light was never meant to compete, it was meant to lead. To warm. To guide. And this moment in time is calling that version of you forward. Not the one that masks uncertainty with control, but the one that lets people see the fire and the softness, all in the same breath. So if you felt pulled, let a light clear space, to get quiet, to prepare without knowing exactly what for, that's not hesitation. That's alignment. Life is never just happening to you. It's responding to your readiness. And readiness doesn't require perfection. It only asks for willingness. This Monday, do something simple but intentional. Take 5 minutes before the day begins. Sit still, hand over heart, and ask, what would it look like if I stopped hiding my light? You don't need the whole answer. Just the willingness to ask the question is enough to start a shift. And if fear or doubt shows upus, it tends to before something meaningful. That's okay. Let it pass. Don't confuse nerves with misalignment. Sometimes fear is just your body realizing it's time to let go of the old story. You've come too far to dim yourself now. There's something in you that the world needs, and this moment, this small but powerful turning point, wants to remind you of it. Let Monday be the day you stop waiting to feel ready, and start remembering that you already are. If you feel that tug, if you sense that this message is yours, leave a comment and say it out loud. Let the universe hear it through your voice. I'm ready for the moment that changes everything. Because sometimes, saying it is the very thing that opens the door. Leo, you've made it to the end of this journey, and that's no small thing. Not because the video is long, but because you stayed. You let yourself listen deeply. You paused long enough to receive. That alone speaks volumes about where you are in your growth. You're no longer rushing through life, hoping for signs. You're learning to slow down and actually see them. The truth is, no one else can walk this path for you. And no one else gets to define the moment your life begins to shift. Only you know what it's taken to get here. Only you know the choices you've made silently, the tears you've hidden, the dreams you've held close even when the world didn't see them. But now this is the moment where things begin to open. Not because someone gives you permission, but because you've chosen to stop waiting for it. I want you to carry something with you today, this idea that receiving is not a reward, it's a natural result of alignment. When you stop betraying yourself, when you stop shrinking to make others comfortable, when you stop delaying the truth you've always known, what you've been waiting for starts to show up. This isn't magic. It's energy. And you're working with it, whether you realize it or not. So let me ask you this. What are you willing to do differently now that you've heard what's been waiting for you? What's one decision you can make this week that brings you closer to the life you say you want? It doesn't have to be big. In fact, the most powerful shifts often start with a quiet yes. A choice to trust your own timing. A moment where you simply decide no more self-doubt, no more delay. And if any part of today's message spoke to you, leave a comment below. Let the universe and yourself know you're awake to the change that's coming. Write something that feels true to you. Something like, I am ready. I am open. I receive the light that's meant for me. When you put it into words, you put it into motion. Thank you, truly, for being here. For giving your time, your presence, your energy to this sacred space. Every comment you leave, every like you click, every time you subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, help this light reach someone else who needs it. And believe me, someone always does. So don't keep this to yourself.